Right now at noon, tragedy on the water as area agencies respond to multiple drowning deaths over the weekend.
And extreme heat continues across the area, dangerous heat to that degree. We'll have a look at your forecast and some heat safety tips for you coming up.
Plus, President Trump cuts funding for a suicide prevention lifeline, which communities are impacted, and what Kansas advocates are doing to help.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
This is KOAM News at noon. I'm Elise Snowy. Well, summer is, of course, in full swing here in the 4 states, and many people are heading to the water to beat the heat. But this weekend, multiple water rescues turned tragic, serving as a serious reminder to stay cautious and aware while enjoying summer activities. In Knoll, Missouri, first responders were called to the Elk River around 5:45 yesterday evening after reports of 2 people drowning near the Lowhead Dam on the west side of town. Now, a 26-year-old woman went over the dam while kayaking and got caught in the current. A 55-year-old man jumped in to try to save her, but became trapped in the water himself. The woman, who managed to hold on to her kayak and was eventually pushed out of the current. A bystander pulled the man from the water and CPR was started right away by first responders. She did not need medical treatment. The man, however, was taken to a hospital in Arkansas but did not survive. And in Joplin, just after 3:30 Saturday afternoon, emergency crews were called to Grand Falls after 2 people reportedly went under the water. Joplin Fire's water rescue team, along with police and Met's ambulance, all responded to the scene. One person was pulled from the water and taken to a nearby hospital. Later that evening, first responders found and recovered the body of a younger male who had drowned. And it's not just lakes and rivers raising safety concerns. Bestway, Intex, and Poly Group are recalling 5 million above ground pools due to a drowning hazard. Federal officials say the strap around the pool legs can create a foothold, making it easier for kids to climb in. 9 children have drowned after gaining access to the pools, including at least 1 case in Missouri. Now, if you own one, contact the manufacturer for a free repair kit. And tonight on KOAM News at 5, we'll have more tips on how to stay safe and mindful while enjoying the water this summer. Let's head over now to Chris Warner for a look at today's forecast.
Yeah, we're continuing with dangerous heat across the area over the next several days, if not over the next week or two, as we just deal with high heat index values. A look from earlier this morning, downtown Joplin, well off to our north. We had some thunderstorms. They stayed outside of our area, unfortunately, because some of the clouds, some of that rain would have been nice to see. MoDOT camera earlier this morning as well, looking pretty good, but it is very hot. Yesterday, well above average. 76 is where we started. 96 is where we made it. Not quite the record levels, but still very hot across the area, continuing that trend of being well above normal for the foreseeable futures. We're climbing into the upper 90s out there. Heading through the rest of this evening, man, it's still not going to get any better. Low 90s by 7, upper 80s by 8, still in the mid 80s by 10, 11 o'clock tonight. We'll have gusty south winds through the afternoon and overnight as well, and temperatures eventually falling back into the upper 70s once again, so well above average. We're going to talk about the extreme heat warnings and how long this excessive heat's going to last here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, Chris, thanks. Well, with temperatures on the rise, Joplin city leaders are reminding residents about available cooling centers. The centers will open during a heat advisory lasting at least 3 days or when an excessive heat warning is issued. In Joplin, locations include City Hall, the Health Department, Dr. Donald Clark Public Safety Center, and the Joplin Athletic Center. Well, some drivers going through Carl Junction should be aware of a speed limit change beginning today. Route Z on Imperial Road and Walnut Street in front of the high school. That speed limit will be reduced from 45 to 40. And once school begins, the school zone will be reduced from 35 to 30. The change comes following a resident requested speed study conducted by MoDOT, which found the speed limit to be higher than it needed to be. A traffic stop in Chautauqua, Kansas led to a major drug bust over the weekend. Labette County deputies pulled over a vehicle for speeding yesterday. During the stop, a canine officer sniffed around the car and alerted to drugs. Deputies found 5 pounds of meth in the trunk. A 62-year-old man was arrested for drug distribution, weapons charges, and possession of paraphernalia. A 25-year-old woman was also taken into custody on outstanding warrants. A Missouri teen accused of making a bomb threat on a plane appeared in court in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The incident happened last Monday before a Kansas City bound flight took off. The 16-year-old was arrested on charges of criminal mischief and making a false report of a bomb or explosive. During the hearing, he apologized for his actions. Now, some witnesses who sat near the teen said he showed regret after making the comments. The judge decided while there was no real threat, the teen will remain behind bars for the weekend. He is scheduled to appear in court in Missouri next month. Liberty Utilities is hosting an open forum this evening in Joplin about new proposed rates in Southwest Missouri. Rates could go from $33 per kilowatt an hour to $39 per kilowatt an hour. Liberty says the money made from the rates will go to help strengthen their system against weather and improve the grid overall. The forum will be held at the Justice Center Auditorium on the campus of Missouri Southern at 6 p.m. Now, if approved, the new rates will go into effect in early 2026. And Missouri American Water is leading a statewide push to replace lead service lines and just hit a major milestone. The company has now replaced more than 20,000 lead lines across Missouri and says it's on track to meet the federal deadline. Missouri American says the effort is part of a long-term commitment to improving water quality and safety for consumers.
It was much easier, of course, to identify our own service lines. We have data on those, but the customer service line is owned by the customer and not the company. So that's really what we're putting most of our effort into, is identifying those lines and replacing them.
Crews are continuing work in several communities. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline has ended their specialized services for LGBTQ youth. That follows President Trump's decision to cut the program's funding. Cameron McRory reports on how Kansas advocates are concerned about what it could mean for this group of young people.
The 988 Lifeline,
Suicide Prevention Center Crisis Line,
is tasked with saving lives every day.
Being able to talk to someone openly and frankly about suicide is very important.
But now funding cuts have eliminated special counseling for LGBTQ youth.
It's putting so many lives at risk.
Local LGBTQ advocates are raising concerns after the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration announced last month that the 988 hotline would, quote, no longer silo LGB plus youth services to focus on serving all help seekers.
When somebody believes in them, when they are just their authentic selves and say, this is who I am, and they're accepted, not questioned, it has a very positive effect.
She said LGBTQ youth experience higher rates of anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts.
The kids in the LGBTQIA community are having additional challenges with maybe not being accepted for who they are. Sometimes it's their parents. Sometimes it's other family members. Sometimes it's in their community.
988 call data shows that in Kansas from July 2023 to February 2024, over 1,500 calls were routed to LGBTQ services. The Kansas Director of Crisis Communications commented on these changes, saying, quote, Kansas 988 remains committed to providing inclusive care to all Kansans.
Well, advocates say LGBTQ youth struggling with suicidal thoughts can also contact the Trevor Project. And coming up, the future of farming, how one farm in southeast Kansas is using robots to ramp up production. And later, we're making Amish harvest tomatoes in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. Well, a local farmer is looking to the future of agriculture by using new technology. KOAM's Mitch Adams visited the Allen County farm to see the equipment in action.
Outside of Humboldt, Kansas, a farm is taking advantage of equipment that you would only think to find in the future.
I heard about these robots probably 5 or 6 years ago and called them, and they were still experimenting with them. And I told them if they have any room for experimenting in southeast Kansas, give me a call. And last year they called me, and I was able to do 50 acres with them, and it worked out pretty well.
Greenfield Robotics, based in Cheney, Kansas, provides innovative robots that have the ability to spray crops and cut weeds fully autonomously.
So many things in the industry that are making farmers spend more and more money on herbicides, pesticides, fertilizers, and really expensive farm equipment. we're able to shrink that down so you can reduce those inputs so your machines don't cost as much. Really makes it effective for farmers of any size to do their operation.
The robotic farm equipment takes away the need for harsh pesticides and, according to Sean, costs about the same as spraying crops.
Oh, I think it'll have a big impact. I think there's going to be a lot more of these style of things used, not only because of economical benefits with not having to use pesticides, but also economical.
The future of farming may be getting close enough to see it from the roadside. In Allen County, Kansas, Mitch Adams, KOAM News.
Well, still to come on KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
It's tomato season, and we have an Amish-inspired recipe that's fresh from the farm. Boy, is it ever good.
And as we've discussed, dangerous heat continues across the area. Look at your forecast right after this. Welcome back to the KOAM News at noon on another very dangerously hot day across the region, and this dangerous heat's going to stick with us for a while. Quick look outside from earlier today, downtown Joplin. If you look close, you can see way off in the horizon some clouds. We had thunderstorms north of our area, unfortunately not helping us out any. In terms of our future temperatures, here's what we have got across the region. Temperatures by tomorrow, we reach our peak heating by the late afternoon, early evening, and we're up into the upper 90s, maybe even some triple digits for some of our western counties. We head into our Wednesday and hot once again, upper 90s out there. And we go into Thursday, and it's the same story. We're going to continue to stay well above average, starting to cruise into the mid to upper 90s once again, which is going to impact, of course, our heat index values. As we roll into the rest of today, we're in that 105 to 110 degree range for just about all of us. We go into our Tuesday rather, same situation, 105 to 110 degree heat index values, just absolutely uncomfortable and again potentially dangerous heat for many folks out there. We go into Wednesday. Wednesday at this point looks to be one of our more humid days, and so we're looking at a lot more of these heat index values getting closer to 110, and some of our southwestern counties here like Newada could be getting close to 115 degree heat index values. Now again, this is a forecast heat index value for a couple of days out. It could change. It'd be nice if it changed for the better, but this is looking to be pretty solid at this point, so you've still got to make sure you're taking precautions. Maybe a couple of improvements on Thursday, but not by much. 100 to 105, and still again approaching 110 degrees on those heat index values. So we have extreme heat warnings across a good portion of the area with heat advisories, Ottawa, Delaware, and Benton counties. The way these work is they're issued by the local forecast office, and we have 5 of those that cover our immediate area here. So Springfield covers this zone here, and they've gone ahead and said, you know what, the heat's going to stay dangerous through at least Thursday. These run through Thursday evening. Tulsa, however, they've been like this traditionally. They handle it kind of a day-by-day situation. So these will actually expire at 8 this evening. Don't let that fool you into thinking tomorrow everything's going to be fine. What happens is usually by the mid-afternoon, they'll reissue them for the next day. And the reason they go day by day is sometimes if there's an improvement, they might switch something out again with a heat advisory, or if things get worse, they might swap them out with extreme heat warnings. But still, it is going to be dangerously hot over the next several days. So here's some things you do need to know. You got to take your pets on early morning walks, but you got to make sure you're paying attention even then. Early this morning, 5 a.m., Iola had a heat index of almost 90 degrees at 5 a.m. So you've got to be checking things. Make sure they're indoors otherwise. Same with the kids. They got to stay indoors. Make sure they're staying hydrated. Water, Pedialyte pops. Those of you who have to be outside, make sure you're finding shade, taking breaks, drinking plenty of water, staying hydrated. And, of course, make sure you're calling or checking up on the elderly because, like kids, they're still quite susceptible to this heat. Our heat index values going up to 110, maybe even 115 in some cases, put us where heat exhaustion is likely and heat stroke becomes a bit more possible out there. So you've got to make sure you're taking care of yourself. And we got a number of these heat safety tips on our website at koamnewsnow.com/forecast, and they'll be available for you anytime. All right, again, low mid 90s today, south winds gusting to 20, heat index values to 110. Well above average tonight, upper 70s, south winds gusting to 25. We'll hold on to clear skies. Those will continue into tomorrow, mid to upper 90s, heat index values 110 again. South winds also, again, gusting to 20. rain. As we head through the next several days, maybe an isolated pop-up storm Thursday or Friday. If we get any, of course, they're going to be very isolated. Most of it's hot and dry. Temperatures climbing, upper 90s, getting close to the triple digits next week. So that keeps our heat index values into that 105, 110 degree range. By next week, we could see a few more of us seeing heat index values to 115. So you just got to make sure you're taking care of yourself out there. Elise?
All right, Chris, thanks. We'll stick around. We're making Amish harvest tomatoes in the Mr. Food Test kitchen. We'll be right back. Well, this easy Amish recipe is a farm favorite made from ruby red tomatoes bathed in a tangy homemade marinade. Today, Howard is making Amish harvest tomatoes in the Mr. Food Test kitchen.
If you have a garden or have been to the market lately, then you know we're smack dab in the middle of tomato season. This is the time of year that tomato lovers like me wait for. And since many of you are always looking for new ways to use tomatoes, we thought we'd share an old school Amish recipe that's both easy and tasty. And it goes together like this. We start by cutting a bunch of ripe tomatoes into chunks. As for the type, you could use anything from hearty beefsteak tomatoes to artsy looking heirloom varieties. To that, we add a sweet onion that we've slivered. Now, for the part that gives these extra flavor, we mix together some vegetable oil, apple cider vinegar, a bit of sugar, and a few off-the-shelf spices. This gets poured over the tomatoes and it's ready to go. We can enjoy it as is, or we can pop it in the fridge so that all the flavors really come together. What makes this so good is the farm-to-table simplicity. It's what Amish cooking is all about. Let me tell you, it doesn't get any better than this. To get the recipe for what we call Amish harvest tomatoes, all you have to do is visit our website. I know you'll be glad you did. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen with Kelly, where today we found an easy Amish way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website. That's KOAMnewsnow.com. Now let's take a look at the 4-state market prices.
All right, extreme heat warnings still in place for the area through at least Thursday. Maybe an isolated pop-up storm Thursday, Friday. Otherwise hot. Temperatures mid-upper 90s, a bit breezy today and tomorrow. Heat index values through Thursday approaching 110. And next week, as our temperatures climb, we could see heat index values approaching 115. And remember, we've got a number of heat safety tips on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com/forecast.
Absolutely important to be safe in these conditions. Dowdy, our first later on.
Lots coming up at 5. For starters, the CDC is out with a new warning about COVID. It says the number of cases is now growing, or at least likely growing, in at least 27 states. Plus, after 2 deadly accidents, we're taking a closer look at how to stay safe around creeks this summer. And extreme heat, as we said, can be dangerous even for your medication. We're going to share tips on how to store it safely during this summer. Hope you'll join us for those stories. A lot more. KOAM News at 5.
All right, Dal, thanks. And that's the news for now. Thank you for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.